I don't know if you know this about me, but I do not mess around when it comes to Valentine's Day. It has become probably my favorite craft holiday. There's just something about putting a heart onto something that just really does it for me. You know, I've made a bunch of Valentine's Day themed things in the past, but I really want to take on a bigger challenge. What I've decided is that I want to make a full-blown Valentine's Day themed chainmail clad character build. Obviously this won't all get done this year, but I'm hoping that I can turn this into a series and build this character little by little. So for this year's project, I wanted to do something that would kind of be a focal point for the character that I could kind of build off of. And so my choice for this year's project is a chainmail shield. Even though everything that I've made thus far has been pink, I am envisioning this character in all red. I don't have a full concept yet, but I can just see red from head to toe. I want red chainmail, I want red clothes, I want a red cloak, I want red plate armor, I want red shoes. I want it all red. I think it'll look so cool. For the shield specifically, I have a bunch of different ideas that I want to do, but in broad strokes, it's gonna be giant, covered in chainmail, covered in hearts, and all red. I think it's gonna be good. Before we can get into the specifics, I have to go and get all my supplies, and then we can do a rundown of everything before we get started. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Let's just get right into designing. For the material of the shield, I'm going to use this pink insulation foam board. What we're going to do is take the foam board insulation and carve it into our shape. I'm using the elven leaf-shaped shields from Lord of the Rings as my inspiration. The cutouts on the side look just like half hearts, so that's kind of the vibe. And then once we have our shape carved out, I'm going to cover everything in a layer of fabric. I just got like a red sheet from the thrift store just to act as the background layer. I don't know enough about insulation foam to trust myself to like paint it and prime it properly, so I'm just going to go with what I know and just sew right onto the foam. Once we have our base finished, I'm going to cover everything in chainmail, and then I am going to add a decorative heart to the middle. I'm not sure if I want to make it out of foam or fabric or both, but I do just want kind of a centerpiece. And then as for all the extra little details, I bought thousands of red beads. So I thought it would be cool to just add a little bit of beading around the center heart and then add a little extra details all around the edges. I haven't figured out exactly what kind of design I want to do yet, but we'll figure that out later. I guess let's just start carving and see what happens. First of all, these foam boards are like the perfect size for the type of shield that I'm trying to make. Shout out to my dad for recommending them to me. I don't know if you can see from there, but I'm gonna make a couple changes. I'm just gonna move the little heart cutout just a smidge higher, and then I'm just gonna round the bottom angle just a tiny bit more. But other than that, I think we're ready to get carving. So let's go. The only thing is the sounds that these foam boards make when they rub together is like the worst thing that I've ever put my ears through. I can't wait to get these wrapped up so I don't have to listen to it anymore. Okay, let's go. Ay, okay, I like the size better, but now that I see the heart here, maybe this is the right, hold on. Oh my gosh, the sound of this is torturous. I like that a lot. What if it's just like a giant heart, right? Now I'm at the point where I'm putting too many lines and I can't really differentiate which ones are the ones that I like, you know? So I think I should stop here and just start cutting it out, even though I'm terrified. Let's start cutting. Quick intermission, my beads just arrived, so we're gonna take a quick peek. Are you ready to see thousands of beads? Ooh, these are all the same. Oh my god, I got so many. I got 5 packs of these little red hearts. Ooh, these are way brighter than I thought that they would be. I might not use these ones because they're like so bright. And then I got a bunch of little tiny red ones. These ones look kind of the same, but I promise they're a little bit different. They're like kind of flat. I got some of these like oval ones. I got so many of these big red ones. It seems like a lot, but I am going to use these on all of my projects in this build. So I wanted to make sure that they all matched. I feel like I'm going to use more than I'm expecting, you know? And then these ones. If they all look the same, just don't tell me. Lastly, I got these like dark cherry looking ones. Thank you for coming to my bead show and tell. Let's get back to carving. That took way longer than I expected. I am very happy with the size and shape of the shield so far. Before I cut out the heart shapes, I want to glue all the pieces together just to make sure that I like the placement. I'm excited. So I'm gonna go grab a mask and some gloves and then we can put everything together. Quick progress report. I let the glue dry overnight and it seems pretty secure. I'm hoping that I can get the rest of the carving done today. I want to round the edges and also fix this mistake. I don't know how I biffed that. I am going to use my noise canceling headphones because the sound of the screeching styrofoam haunted my dreams last night. I don't know, I'm kind of just going to lock in today and see how much I can get done and then I'll check in with you later. Try not to miss me too much. Just to prove to you that I'm not exaggerating about how terrible the sound of this foam is, I'm gonna give you a little preview, so if you don't wanna hear it, cover your ears in 3, 2, 1. I mean, seriously, how bad is that? Once I was happy with the rounded edges, I just used a sandpaper block to smooth everything out. Huge success. The sandpaper worked so well. Everything is now covered in dust, but before I clean it all up, I'm going to cut out the center heart and sand it down, and then hopefully we can get the fabric cut out today. After the foam was all sanded, I cut out the fabric pieces that would cover the shield. I secured the back piece with a bunch of little nails and then hand stitched the front piece on. Once the fabric is stitched up, the base is now seemingly complete and we're ready to move on to the next step. The The fabric is all stitched on, so now I am ready to move on to the chainmail. It has been so freezing cold the past few days, so I've just kind of been hunkering down and doing prep work. I have prepped a super long strip of European 4-in-1, so now all that's left is to add it onto the shield. This is always my favorite part. Let's start mailing. For those of you that don't know, I'm using the European 4-in-1 weave. I use this weave for a lot of my projects. I just find it to be, well, the easiest, but I also just find it really meditative. It's just the weave that I enjoy the most. And the way you can identify this weave is when you're looking at a sheet of mail, every one ring will have 4 rings woven into it. This weave was the most popular historically. Obviously, historically, they would use riveted chainmail instead of the butted rings that I use, which just means that it's 2 like flat pieces on the closure. Instead of having that, it would be a ring, but there would be a section of the ring that overlaps, and then the blacksmith would create a hole right where that overlap is and put a rivet through. I think in the future I would love to make a video just deep dive on historical chainmail. If that's something you're interested in, let me know. I do really love this weave. A little snag. I'm running out of rings. I don't have time to order more, so I'm gonna do a quick consultation with my friend Michael and see what we can figure out. I'll be right back. I'm back. So we are pivoting. While I was out, I got some new red fabric, a bunch of this foam insulation tubing, and some red spray paint just in case. Let's get back to work. Since I couldn't add the foam border yet, I just used painter's tape as kind of an outline and then marked where the mail needed to end, and then I could shape the pattern properly. Good morning. It is time to lock the f*** in. I have set a very strict schedule for myself today, so my goal is to stay on task. The chainmail section is basically done, so I just need to do all of the assembly. I'm gonna start with the fabric. I feel like it might be better if I just explain as I go, so I will talk to you later, and let's see how much we can get done today. The idea for this pattern is to make kind of a border just around the edges in the tarp fabric that I got. This plan does end up changing, but I just want to keep you in the loop. After some thought, I decided to cover the whole shield in tarp, so I cut out another pattern piece for the front as well as a long 2-inch strip for the sides. Who has 2 thumbs and is behind schedule? This guy. Since I, of course, changed my plan and decided to cover the whole thing in tarp, the back piece is already glued on, but since there's such a curve in all of the edges, I have to hand stitch. What am I doing? My brain just like stopped working. I think I'm gonna have to explain this to you in a voiceover, because yeah. Anyway. Don't worry, girl, I'll take it from here. What I was trying to say is that I basically made a tarp case that would fit over the shield. Thankfully, I could use my sewing machine for half the work, but then I did have to hand stitch the cover directly to the shield. Now that the base is actually finished, I can move on to the assembly. Success. Time check. It is almost 4 o'clock. Vibe check. I'm fading. That took a lot longer than I expected, and it took a lot out of me, but I really like this fabric a lot better than the darker fabric that I was using. I don't know if I actually explained it, but I was initially planning on just doing a red border, like with the bright red tarp that I had. I am behind schedule, but I am just gonna keep trucking along. The sun is setting. Really all that's left is to attach all of the chainmail and then put the foam borders on. Okay, wish me luck. Once I had the chainmail laid out how I wanted it, I secured it in place with these poultry fencing staples. I'm so happy that I found these because they were actually perfect for this. Then I started wrapping the foam border in tarp before I had a change of heart. Time check. It is almost 6:20. The chainmail is nailed down and I really like how that looks, but I don't like how the foam tubing looks. Today's just the day of me changing my plans, I guess. I'll see you tomorrow. Hold on, I just went to put my pajamas on and I had a Jimmy Neutron brain blast. I have an idea. So instead of using the thick foam, I don't know if I showed you earlier, but I also got a smaller foam, what's it called? Caulk saver. Instead of using the thick foam tubes, I'm gonna use 2 of the thin ones. So I'm gonna wrap that in the red sheet that I used before and then just use that as the border. Now I'll actually see you tomorrow. Before calling it quits for the night, I cut the new smaller tube border to size and then hand stitched the fabric onto it. Welcome to the final day of this project. Whether I like it or not, this is gonna get done today. I really thought that this would be the year that I would finally not have to work right up until the day before Valentine's Day, but things just keep going wrong. It's not my fault. Anyway, I do have some updates. I did keep working off camera last night and I hand sewed the fabric onto the smaller foam tubes. I went to bed feeling like I had accomplished it. I had finally found a solution. And then I woke up this morning and hot glued it onto the shield and I absolutely hated it. I ended up just ripping it off right after I did it. This morning I just decided to cut out a border in the tarp fabric and I like it a lot better. I have it secured right now with just pins, but I spray painted a bunch of nails, so I'm gonna use that to secure it. Also, I finished the heart this morning. I'm actually not sure if I showed any updates of me doing this, but I just covered the foam in the dark sheet and then just added 4-in-1 chainmail. So my checklist for today, I'm gonna add the nails and then probably glue the fabric down. And then I think the last thing I need to do is just add beading. Let's get to work. It's finally time to bead. I'm very excited. I am just gonna bead the heart since I don't have a lot of time. I think I'm just gonna do the edges. If I end up really liking it, I can always go back in later and do more on the shield. I'm gonna get a little bit more organized and then we can get to work. Before we discuss the beading, I want to preface this by saying, don't get your hopes up. In my head, I was envisioning assorted beads all neatly placed along the edge, but when it came down to it, I was just a little too poop to pop. So I decided to make a super simple border with the largest beads that I had until, of course, my thread snapped and I had to start all over. At this point, I think this project might be cursed, and it's honestly making me rethink my life choices. But alas, I decided not to dwell on it, and I moved on to getting all the other pieces together. Since I wanted to at least use some beads, I glued a few on top of the nails along the edge and made another border for the heart, but with stretchy thread this time to save myself a second heartbreak. And with that, all the decorating was complete. The final addition was this old thrifted belt. I used this to make the straps for the back of the shield that I could put my arm through. To make sure that they were secure, I drilled in a few screws to keep them in place. And without further ado, it's finally time for the reveal. This project has been such a roller coaster. This definitely has gotten me excited about the rest of this build. Even though I didn't get all of my ideas out, I'm still very pleased with the final result. I have to keep reminding myself that this is going to be a pretty big project, and if there's stuff that doesn't work for one piece, I can always just use it in a different one. Like, I'm definitely going to use those beads on a different part of this project. It also was just a really fun build. Even though stuff went wrong, I'm glad that I just kept pushing forward and trying new things until I was happy. And I am happy. Even though I'm exhausted and sore, I think it was all worth it. I feel like this is a good jumping off point, and I definitely learned a lot along the way. After the past few days, I feel like I don't have any brain power left. I had a bunch of stuff that I wanted to talk about, and now I can't remember. If you do want to stay up to date with this project, you can follow me on Patreon. I've been posting more behind the scenes stuff and Patreon exclusive videos, so if you're interested in that, you're welcome to join. Let me know if you have any other suggestions on things that you'd like to see me add to this character. I'm really excited to get to know who she is and just build her little by little. I think it's gonna be really exciting, and I'm looking forward to this whole journey. I think that's all the brain power I have left. So I am going to go and order a pizza and watch My Bloody Valentine, as is my tradition. As always, thank you so much for watching, and happy Valentine's Day.